The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And welcome to The Divine Truth on Revolution Radio. This is Taj, your host this evening, and my co-host this evening is Sarah Adams. Hi, Sarah, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Taj.
Hi, I hope you're well.
Yes.
And our guest this evening is Vanessa Bates, who is Max Spiers' mother. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Hi, Taj. Hello there.
How are you today?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, that's good to hear. Now, before we start the show, I just want to, on your behalf, on Vanessa's behalf and Sarah's behalf, just thank everyone who has supported Vanessa and Sarah over the past year. I know it's been a very difficult time for the both of you, especially as we have still no real answers as to what has happened to Max. And I just want to, give out a thank you to everyone, all the friends, family, and everyone who has supported the both of you over the past year.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, for our listeners who may not know, I interviewed you back in October, Vanessa.
That's right.
And we covered a lot of ground in that interview. And what I want to do on the show tonight is really go over the timeline of events and sort of hopefully fill in a lot of the gaps as to, what we didn't know back in October, and we know a little bit more now as to what actually happened.
Yes, there's still a lot of gaps, but we are further along the road.
So where I wanted to start was in the weeks before Max passed away. He went on a trip to Cyprus, and
Yes.
I found it interesting that he chose Cyprus as a location to go on holiday. Do you know why he chose Cyprus in particular?
I don't know why he went to Cyprus. I know that the woman that he was in a room in her house was going to Cyprus, and then he hooked up with her when he did the Polish conference, and then made the decision to go with her. And I know he spoke of Richard the Lionheart's, I believe it's a castle over there that he'd always wanted to see. I have often wondered why it was Cyprus, but the specifics I'm not sure of.
Right, okay.
So he told me about his trip to Cyprus. He actually said he bought me some presents there. I have those messages, but he said about his trip to Cyprus too that she had paid him to take, I guess, her kid or one of the kids in the family on a trip there. So
sorry, I can't hear you very well, Sarah. Could you speak up?
Yes, I said that what he told me about his trip to Cyprus was that she had paid him to take one of the kids of the family there, and while he was there, he had bought some presents for us, for you, Vanessa, for me. He had bought us some presents. Yes, and he was trying to speak to my little sister because my mother and my little sisters were in Cyprus, and he was very worried about my little sisters because my mom, she was not very good to them. So that's another thing too. He wanted to check up on them. My little sister did tell me that he spoke to her, when he was over there.
So he never actually met up with them, but he spoke to your little sister.
Yes, he never met up with her, but he did speak to her. I guess he had a phone call or messaged her because she did tell me that.
Okay. Yes, I knew some of Sarah's family was out there, but I never knew the actual outcome of that. But it sounds like he spoke to the sister, and I knew he was concerned, as Sarah was, about the little sister. So that could have been an additional layer to it, yes.
Yeah, he said he bought some presents for us, which we haven't, like you, Vanessa, haven't retrieved anything, which is odd. Yes.
No.
Yeah, I think a lot of Max's belongings were never returned from Poland. Is that right, Vanessa?
That is right. And as you know, well, anybody who listened to the previous interview that I did with you, I, at a later date, got the computer and the cell phone back from the woman who he lived in the house with, but it was a considerable amount of time after everything else. She said she was worried about putting them in the mail, but in fact, a case of all Max's stuff came back with him after he had died in Poland. So quite why it wasn't in there at the time, I don't know, but I certainly know, as most people do now, that both the computer and the cell phone were completely wiped. There was absolutely nothing on either of them, including a lot of stuff that I knew was on that computer because he had worked for a long time, and including the time he was, Sarah knows he worked on that computer and saved an awful lot of his work on it. None of it was there.
What is really interesting is that Max he kept 2 passwords, and that computer you had to use fingerprints, if I remember right, to log into
Yes.
it. Yes. So how did they get into his computer to wipe stuff out of his computer? Max used to keep a lot of passwords like me, and
Yes.
it would have been impossible because he had fingerprint backup to get onto that computer.
That's right. He absolutely did. So it would have had to have been his fingerprint on there to have got into it.
Well, that goes into the sort of question as to why his body was left overnight, and we don't know why it was left overnight in Poland. Do you know why his body was left overnight?
Gosh, I mean, that's, for me as the mum, that's the biggest question that I have of all. It supersedes everything, is why on earth, after the debacle that went on during the course of that evening, why he was left there overnight after the police and the medical team had gone out there. Apparently, one thing I have learned is that in Poland, it's exactly the same as anywhere else. Once someone has been declared deceased, the body is removed. That's just standard. Forgetting whether or not he was declared, they still don't know a reason why he died. That's a whole nother issue. But why he was left there that night is left with me only to wonder.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
So he returned from Cyprus on the Monday. So this is the Monday before he passed away, which was, I believe, I think it was the 11th. And then the following day, he did his last interview with the Polish group.
Yeah.
On the 12th. We believe that was on the 12th.
Yeah, we believe. We're not sure.
And then it was about 4 days later that he passed away. So
yes, 16th.
Today.
Yeah,
exactly a year ago today it was. In fact, around this time, you were just finding out that he had passed away. Is that right, Vanessa?
Yes, this is exactly the time, and exactly the same weather. It's quite bizarre out there. It's very balmy in England at the moment, very warm and very humid. And that's how it was exactly a year ago. And I got in about, what are we? Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same time. It was 11 o'clock at night. And I looked on my computer and saw these messages saying Max is dead. That was how I learned.
So how did you found out from a message from Sarah, is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
So what did you do? Go ahead, Sarah, sorry.
So go ahead.
So what did you do once you got that message from Sarah? You tried to call Monica, is that right?
Yes, but I was in such a state. I just kept saying out loud, it's not true, this is ridiculous. And then I had a telephone number and, I wasn't thinking straight and I couldn't dial the numbers properly because there's obviously a country code. But eventually I worked it out and I got through, and the woman at the other end of the phone was hysterical. I could barely understand a word that she was saying. And but she kept saying, he's dead. And then, as Sarah knows, I could hear Sarah at the other end of the phone because she was trying to help Monica see what we could do with Max.
Yeah. this is another thing I wanted to talk about. There's been a lot of talk about what Sarah was trying to do, and that she was trying to perform some kind of ritual and all this kind of thing. And I don't know if Sarah wants to explain exactly what she was saying to Monica.
So I have before, when people are sick or ill or they're dying, I know how to use very high magic to bring them back. So I was desperately trying to do that with him and create an energetic line to do so. So I was instructing her how to do so. And that's that. It wasn't black magic or anything. I was desperately trying to bring him back. I know that when I found out about it, I did scream, and I screamed so loud that people in the building actually made a complaint to my aunt, because she lives in a community where there's other people, and they made a complaint because they heard the scream, and they were all worried, that the scream had came from her place.
Right.
Nobody wanted to contact me. Miles did. He's the one. I can say Miles is the one who really did. I really am thankful on that part, because he's the one who got a hold of me. They were refusing over there to get a hold of me. Monica did try to get a hold of me. What happened is I was told this whole story, and then as soon as Max died, I did put it out there, and I did get attacked for it. There was a lot of weird things that were going on, but I was trying to do high magic to bring him back, or to pull him back to his body, and that's what I was performing, and I was having her perform.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke to you that evening. I called you that evening because I got a message from a friend, saying that Max had died, and I didn't believe it at first, and I thought it was some kind of sick joke. And it was only when I actually called Sarah, and I realized straight away, the state that Sarah was in, that it was actually true. And Sarah was, I'd spoken to Miles, and we were trying to get a hold of you, Vanessa. And I was asking Sarah, do you have Vanessa's number? And Sarah was saying she had it in her other phone, and she didn't have it in her phone.
True.
And she, nobody could get a hold of your number to contact you. I think Sarah managed to eventually get your number.
But of course, it was in Max's phone. The thing is, it was in Max's phone, and it turns out that everybody had access to Max's phone.
Well, they said that the Max's phone doesn't work. Is that right?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
He apparently dropped it in the bath or something, and
yes,
it got wet.
But it would have also been on the computer, wouldn't it?
Exactly, and they had to have access to that computer to wipe it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not saying this is what happened, but that may have been a reason why the body was left there. They could use his fingerprints to access the computer and do whatever they want. I mean, that's a speculation, obviously, at the moment. I'm not saying that is what happened, but it is unusual for a body to be left overnight. I went to a conference recently, and I spoke to a Polish guy, and he said because of financial reasons, a lot of things aren't done by the book in Poland. So a body may have been left there overnight simply down to either costs, and it may have gone straight to the funeral home simply because of costs, because sending it to the hospital to have an autopsy done and for a police investigation, etc., would have all cost money. And the Polish, if it seems like natural causes, there's no reason to investigate. There's no reason for the body to go to the hospital, is my understanding.
Right.
This goes into the whole question about the note that was written while the doctor was there, and I don't know who actually wrote natural causes on that note, because there's been a little bit since you found out a little bit more information about what. Do you want to explain exactly what happened with the note?
Exactly what that is that it's certainly not the doctor who is saying it was natural causes. The doctor is certainly saying that it was unknown causes. It was unknown, and there is certainly reference to a spillage of black liquid. This has also been made a lot of online, that it was rubbish and that of course there wasn't black liquid. There was absolutely a lot a lot of black liquid all over the floor in her house. That is verified by a number of people, including the doctor. So then once the doctor does his work and he says, I don't know what's happened, because obviously he didn't, he then hands it over to the police who arrived, and their job is then to transport the body wherever it goes. They don't, in Poland or anywhere else, just leave a body overnight. And that is per absolutely everybody that I've spoken to, including a lot of Polish people and a Polish lawyer. They say that would not happen unless there was some reason, some strange reason why the body was required to be kept there, in which case one starts to speculate about things like bribery. Because apparently in Poland, and again, this is speculation, but I think that there is, a suspicion about whether or not if you come up with some cash, perhaps, there was something like that went on. I don't know, but it certainly is against regulations to leave a body there overnight. And that's been made very clear to me.
Okay.
Can we talk about how they changed his clothes?
Yeah.
So Max, they changed his clothes and they put him in a suit, of which Max, sometimes he might wear a bit of dress pants, but he would never want to be in a suit ever. And they did change his clothes.
Yes.
And that, how, to me, that I don't understand how somebody can undress a dead person and put them other clothes on. That's just really very creepy to me.
Yeah.
There's, and the other creepy part of that is, as he got back, and remember, I shipped him back home here immediately. I just wanted him out of Poland and back here. And I said, the other thing is, please take that suit off. And so I went down with Richard to the funeral home and said, here's a pair of jeans and a white T-shirt, because that was what he was most comfortable in, as you know, Sarah. And they said his body was so badly decomposed that they could not take the suit off. Creepy part of that is it was barely any time. And it's really common for somebody to dress and undress a body after someone's died. But he, by the time he got here, was unrecognizable. You wouldn't have known the person that arrived here. I couldn't bring myself to see him. I did not. But my daughter did. And she said you wouldn't know whether that was him or not. It was unrecognizable.
Yeah, and his body only took, 6 days? It was only 6 days after he passed away that the body arrived here in the UK.
Yes,
and
he was transported in a refrigerated coffin. So, just the same as if he'd been in a drawer in a morgue in this country.
Right, but he was left overnight. He
was left overnight.
I don't know how many hours. I don't know about how long it would take for a body to decompose. But I mean, if he passed away on
questions, that's right.
If he passed away on a Saturday. If he passed away on a Saturday afternoon, he was left there until Sunday 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's a good 18 hours.
Yes, and if it's in a normal room temperature.
And this is summer as well.
Know.
This is middle of July.
Mid-July.
So, yeah.
So that probably made a huge. I guess I don't know, because there's been something made of how do you know that was even Max that was brought back, and the absolute truth on that is, how do I know?
Exactly. I would think the same thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this goes into the people who were there, and we now know from after I've spoken with you, Vanessa, that there were at least 4 people there. There was obviously Monica and the doctor, and there were 2 other people who I'm not going to name. But one of those people attempted CPR on Max.
Yes.
And they did it incorrectly. Do you want to just talk about that a little bit?
Only that I believe that from the little that I know about CPR, and everybody seems to agree with me, you never do it when someone's on a bed or a sofa. You get them straight flat on the floor.
Yeah.
So they've got a hard surface. And Max never left that sofa at all. And when the doctor arrived, he was still on the sofa. I don't know how long he'd been dead by the time the doctor arrived. That was early evening when the doctor arrived. And I didn't speak to anyone till 11, but he was still on the sofa at 11 o'clock that night. He'd never left the sofa, not for a minute, apparently.
Okay. So this person who attempted CPR, they knew how to do CPR, but they did it while he was still lying on the sofa. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And the other person who was there was the person who took the photographs of Max's body
Must
on the
have
sofa.
been. Yes, absolutely must have been.
And we're not sure if anybody else was there, but we are definite that those 4 people were definitely there.
Yes, there's no question about that.
Yeah. Also, when his body was returned to the funeral home in the UK, I believe you had a conversation with the funeral home where they thought that he had drowned. Is that correct?
The in the UK here?
In the UK here, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Why
Yes,
did they think he had drowned?
By the state of the body, apparently, by the colour of the body, and obviously they see a lot of different cases, and they said to both myself and again to Richard, who was with me, oh, he drowned, didn't he? And of course, he didn't, as far as we know, at least. I hope not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that was strange also.
Yeah, it's just I mean, a funeral home would obviously get a lot of bodies, and they know what they would know what a drowning victim would look like.
Yes, bloated, I believe. I believe that it takes in the water that it's been underneath.
Right.
You know, that's that's what I've heard about that. But he had not, of course. So there's still all these massive questions that come rolling in, absolutely overwhelming. And we now have, the inquest looks as if it's going to be total, and there are about 1,000 pages set ready for the inquest. Great many of them have had to be translated from Polish, but a lot of people have been interviewed all the way to very high up. The equivalent of a coroner in Poland is called a prosecutor.
Yeah.
But it's not a prosecutor in the way that we think of it. It's actually a very high. And in that BBC documentary, you see him interviewed. I don't know if you've watched that.
Yes, I've watched that.
But the man is interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, he claims, was that the coroner or was that the police? Was he the head of the police?
That is the prosecutor, who is the coroner.
Okay, because there was a claim that, like, the police weren't informed of Max's death for 6 weeks, or the Polish police weren't informed of Max's death, even though police did actually turn up at Monica's flat.
Yeah.
So, do you know why it wasn't reported then officially? I mean,
no idea about that, but I know that he, who is very high up, says on the BBC tape that the reason that they told me, which was when I had a panic, would have been in about November after I'd done your show, because they contacted me and they said, we're closing the case. And I went nuts. And they said, well, if it hasn't been reported within a period of a month after a death, then 2 months later the case is closed. Well, in fact, it hadn't been reported for 6 weeks. So yes, we know they were there, but nobody had reported the death at all.
Right, yeah.
So purpose, so there would be no case into it in a way. So it seems like it had been manipulated. Yes. And when I got that call, I was told directly by Monica that Max was being deprogrammed and that they were giving him unlimited pharmaceuticals. Yeah. And I immediately got very angry because I know, that I'm always was trying to keep safe when it comes to different things. And I immediately asked, he's in the middle of nowhere, and there was a fence, electric fence, apparently 6-foot electric fence around this place. He was new to Poland. How was he getting, pharmaceuticals if they were giving it to him? And he had called me freaking out. He had locked himself in the closet. He had freaked out. He was going to leave there. He would sneak to call me and tell me that, he was being monitored and a lot of different stuff. He was freaking out about it. Some of the messages I sent to him were to pray, and I was praying, and he was going to leave a couple of days after he died.
I know.
And I was told, immediately, I asked Monica, she was like, yes, he's getting unlimited pharmaceuticals being delivered to his bed. Now, what's interesting is that, I asked where they were coming from, and I assume it was her doctor. And I'm wondering if
Yeah.
that is the same doctor that signed the, when he died, that signed the causes of death.
Right. I wonder that as well. And this is when I still get upset when I see online people typing things about the fact that Max was an addict and that was all there was to it. Because as Sarah and I know, for that couple of years before this terrible event in Poland, Max was clean. He was clear. I mean,
Yes,
it was like there was something terrible that happened
yes,
from
Sam,
the
because
time he went to Poland.
the toxicology report came back that he was clear and clean.
Yes.
Yes. So, and the fact that, they said it looked like he died of drowning and all this weird stuff, and he was being manic. Before he left there, he was
Yeah.
really manic. He would call me and say that they have him wiretapped. He was saying
Yeah.
all sorts of manic stuff, like
Yes.
they're trying to harm me. And then he said that he was like, I'm really powerful, but they're trying to harm me. And he would always
Yeah.
say he had a shield. And Max did have very good shields when it came to energy. He was very good at shielding himself, a lot better than I was.
Yeah.
And he was really manic. I remember that I told him, I said, if there's even a church around, Max, just go pray at the church.
Yeah.
And he was, okay, I'm going to go do that. He's like, even, he was really desperate on every single level.
Yes. Yes. There was but what I wanted to make clear was that there was a massive change that came over him. If anybody would have seen him the times that we went out with him, which was pretty much every other day, and
Yes.
you were with him every single
Yes.
day, that wasn't the Max that we saw. We saw somebody who was able to do plenty of conferences, plenty of conversations when we were out, and that paranoid state that he was in was not how he was for all of that time beforehand. It was just like there was a dramatic change, a dramatic decline in him, and I have no idea what caused that. No idea.
He also looked, I don't recognize those last videos of him. I didn't recognize him. He looked like he was drained and aged. I didn't understand that at all, because he was very healthy. If you look at the pictures of him with us in England, he was extremely, extremely healthy and smiling and happy. If you look at those pictures, or even the videos, you could tell he's not well. They're interviewing him, and he's so exhausted. He's
exhausted.
Yes.
And puffy.
Yes. And I don't understand why he was looking like that. And no matter what, he was supposed to be with people who were supposed to make sure that he was healing or that he was okay. He should have never wound up in that state at all. Because no matter people want to blame me or anybody else.
No.
First, he was very healthy around me.
Very healthy.
Yes, he was very healthy. I would always make sure he was okay. I was always giving him vitamins and making sure he was okay. Yes, and so it's whoever he was around. They were not making sure. They didn't care about his well-being whatsoever. They didn't care about his well-being.
Nope, I completely endorse that. That's absolutely true. It's like there was a dramatic change and a very, very different person. And all I wanted to do was get him out of there. And I know he was on his way back. He was going to do the Miles conference. He was going to meet up with you over there. And he knew he needed to get out. And it was almost as if he couldn't get out. And once they knew he was leaving, they didn't want him to. I really felt that.
Vanessa, I believe you were looking for a poison specialist as part of the inquest.
Yeah.
So do you think that he was poisoned somehow, and how do you think that may have happened?
Really difficult to know. It's certainly something that's gone through my mind. One of the things is that I've got some hair strands, because I still have in the back of my mind, please God, let it be him. So I think that I have to check first and foremost that it actually is him. But in those hair strands, I am going to get a private, ready before the inquest. I'm going to have those hair strands analyzed. It's very difficult with poison from the conversations I've had, because you have to suggest the poisons before they can look for them.
Right.
Because there are apparently so many that unless you've got some idea of what they've got to look for, it's almost an endless bucket of stuff to find.
Yeah.
But I certainly have wondered whether there's some sort of poison in his system. Again, it's something I don't know, but I certainly feel something strange happened to him that night and that day.
I mean, looking at, like Sarah mentioned, he didn't look too well in the videos. It may have been like a slow sort of process. He was being poisoned over a few weeks or months or whatever.
Well, and that's it. And maybe it started in Cyprus. Maybe it started before he went to Cyprus. It's very hard to know, because what we do know is the state he was in on that tape that was done on the 12th.
Did he fly to Cyprus from the UK?
He flew to Poland and then from Poland to Cyprus.
Right,
and then back to Poland. That's how it happened.
Okay.
But that tape where he looks so disoriented is in Poland. He's back by then.
Yeah, that's the one where there's no video, right?
That's right. There's no video, just that weird insert of the trampolining.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that video. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really watched it recently, but I don't think there's anything more that we can comment about other than what we said in our previous interview, unless there's something else you want to say about it. If there's anything new you want to say about that interview.
No, I don't think there's anything new. I just think that it's an indication that it's very different from any other interview that he's ever done.
Yeah.
And it stands out as significantly different. And it happens timeline-wise to be the day after he gets back from Poland. That's all the rest of it we know.
From Cyprus, yeah. The day after he comes back from Cyprus, yeah.
From Cyprus, yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
I wonder why he was being interviewed. Just looking at the state he was in, anybody would know not to interview him, that he was really in need of help. You can just look at him and tell that, forget interviewing somebody who looks like that and who isn't well like that. You need to get them help. Yet they didn't care. They just interviewed him till basically he seemed so exhausted on there. He seemed so exhausted on there. I've never seen him like that.
No.
Yeah, and it was I think a couple of days after that he was supposed to appear on Christine Hart's show, and that was the Thursday the 14th. So this was less than 48 hours before he died, and I was actually listening to that show today, and Christine couldn't get a hold of him, and basically he was texting her. He didn't actually come on air. And he was saying that he had massive migraines for 3 days. He wasn't well. He apologized that he couldn't come on the show. And also that's when he mentioned a certain person that was attacking him. I won't mention their name. He mentioned their name on that show. And then within 2 days, he had passed away.
Right.
But also there's something else.
And this is the same person. This is the same person that he mentions on the tape that we're talking about on the 12th, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard that tape yet. I guess I keep avoiding stuff because I'm trying to get better, and I do have a therapist who's trying to help with on an emotional level, and I'm still having like hard times sometimes eating and stuff like that. So I haven't listened to that tape, but when I can, I will definitely try to listen to that tape. I do know is that there were definitely, they tried to frame me for stuff, even say that I was in Poland as soon as he died, and say that I lied about that they were giving him, pharmaceuticals like they claimed. They also left some messages hours before Max died saying he was going to be poisoned by me. What are the odds of that?
Not very high.
Yeah. There was also that. There's also, you said the laptop had been wiped apart from, there was one file on the desktop, right, which was a screenshot of a conversation that Max was having with a certain person, and they were talking about Sarah in a not so pleasant way. Is that you mentioned that in our previous interview, I believe?
Is that me you're talking to?
Yeah. Sorry, Vanessa. Yeah.
The one where
In,
a specific person was saying I was going to poison Max.
Yeah, there was on Max's laptop when you got it back. You said that there was a screenshot.
Oh, now I'm with you. Sorry, on the laptop.
Screenshot.
Absolutely.
The screenshot that was saved on there.
It's the only thing on there. It's the only thing on there.
Yeah, it sort of doesn't make Sarah look good. You know, is what I'm saying.
That's
right. In a way.
I mean, in a way, they probably wanted that to get out to the public, so it tried to sway people away from. Yes. You know, he died over there in their hands. He didn't die in my hands, first of all. Second of all, you know, it's very odd to message somebody you're going to be poisoned and they die hours later. That's just really, really weird. That's not normal. And then you leave that on the laptop. So it's not, it said, I was in the United States and I've already spoken to, when I got to the UK, I spoke to the authorities there for a couple of hours and gave them all the details and everything that I know. So, you know, and they were looked through my phone. They were okay with looking through my phone. I even let the journalist look through my phone. And his last message to me, his last message is he was desperate to get out of there. So, you know, they ruled out suicide. They were like, he wasn't suicidal, that's for sure, because he was happy. He was like, he said he wanted to go back to England and get a house again. And and see you, Vanessa. Well, you know that. And he wanted me to come back to England. He was really quite happy about that, but he just wanted to get there.
But there was an anxiety about his desire to get out of that country. It's like he suddenly realized he needed to get out, and there was a scramble for him to get out. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I, again, not mentioning names, but I have been accused of lying myself in terms of saying that I heard conversations in English on the phone the night that Max died and that I spoke to Monica. I said I overheard conversations in English, and some people have suggested that, of course, I couldn't have heard anybody speaking in English because wasn't it in Poland and nobody speaks English?
Monica does speak English because she spoke English to me too, and those people are they did.
That's a ridiculous comment. That's a ridiculous comment to make, that, you know, just because you're in Poland and nobody speaks English. Yeah. I mean, if you're in a house where, you know, there's obviously an English person living there, and you have, you know, you're talking to someone in English on the phone with them, and to say that you can't hear it, you know, someone speaking English in the background. I mean, Sarah was speaking in the background for a start. You already said
she was speaking English.
You could hear her in the background, you know,
right,
on a phone.
And I also knew very clearly that Sarah was in the States. Yeah, because I'd already had her phone number come up. Yes, so I full well knew Sarah was in the States.
Yeah.
Yes, and they put out that I was in Poland, and I was like, no, you know, look at my log line. I'm in Dallas right now. And they were saying that I had been in Poland and was leaving Poland, and I had poisoned him there. There was literally a story that went out about this, so it was sort of planned. And then I did hear like some of the stories about you, Vanessa, too. And then people were coming to me, and vice versa, you know, trying to say that this or that. But the thing is that Max was in Poland, and he died at neither my hands nor your hands, Vanessa. No. He died in the hands of somebody else. And there's a lot of issues with this whole case that has come out. Some of the things, a lot of them. There are specific things we know between us, Vanessa, about, you know, even specific things with Max that it's not adding up. That there was something sort of, I feel, very evil going on towards him.
Yes. Well, I do too. And certainly I've read things where people have said, I think the mother is behind this, you know, all that kind of stuff that I try to block out. But there's no question this has been an agonizing year, Taj, and this is not to be underestimated. This has been a year from hell.
Yeah.
Oh, it has been a year from hell. I agree with that. And you know what? It's
been a year from hell. Yeah, I just went over to his grave today.
I mean, I've seen a lot of the attacks on Sarah and the abuse that she's had to put up with, and you know, pages on Facebook, hate pages, and all kinds of things like that have been directed towards her. And I think it's, I don't want to say on air what it is, but to be honest, it's disgusting, really, that a lot of this has happened after Max has passed away.
It's
well,
really sad
it
because
is.
instead of being able to deal with it somehow, because the overwhelming feeling that I have today when I went over to his grave was, why am I standing here? What on earth is this about? There's this strong feeling that I shouldn't be there.
No, it
Yeah.
shouldn't have happened. It
Could
shouldn't have.
never have happened. Never have happened. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And it feels not right. It feels strange. It's still a year later, it feels very strange.
Yeah.
It's,
The next
it's
thing I
been,
wanted.
it's
Go
been
ahead, sir.
insane because when I had went to a conference like some months ago, and that's the first thing I got approached by people that asked me, well, do you know Vanessa? How good do you know Vanessa? Did she hurt Max? I was like, no, you guys really need to look. You know, neither I nor Vanessa did anything. You need to look at the people he was around. And and then I see these like articles that it's Podesta or Hillary or something that killed Max. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's taken away. It's taken away who should be looked at when it comes to his death. None of these people, Podesta or Hillary or whatever, are involved with anything to do with Max. It's the people who are around him that I believe, that there was something definitely that went on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sort of makes it worse that they're not speaking. The people around Max at the time he died.
Silence is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I suppose they've probably been told by lawyers or whoever to not say anything, but in a way, it sort of doesn't really help. Doesn't really help as much. But the next thing I wanted to talk about is something that hasn't really been discussed in public at all, which is the head wound. And this is something I've talked to you about it. I've talked to Sarah at length about it, and there's nothing in like the doctor's letter on the day he died about a head wound. Monica says she doesn't know how the head wound got there, and I don't know if the coroner at all in the UK has mentioned the head wound. So, do you have any idea now as to how the head wound happened, or
it's another mysterious thing? Because I know that the photograph that I have seen with the head wound, and it's a significant head wound, was within hours of his death. So it was very clearly there and must have been there when the doctor came out. There is no reference to it, and by the time he got back to the UK, the body was so badly decomposed it would have been impossible to see anything. You couldn't even see his face.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so,
Sarah got a message literally less than 24 hours before with a photograph of Max,
yes.
and there was no head wound in that photograph, so it must have happened.
Really?
Yeah, he sent me a selfie from in the shower. But anyhow, he had his face was up front, and it wasn't even 24 hours. It was, I think, not even 15 hours. It was. Wow, it was in the same night. I was asleep here in the United States, and it would have been, I guess, more day or something over there. And he had sent me a whole bunch of messages, and his face was up close, and you could see there's no mark on his body. And then you talk about the whole thing that he had a head wound, and he looked like he had a few other wounds too, but specifically, I think that head wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we still don't know really any more about the head wound.
No.
Okay.
No, this is what's so frustrating, is that there are still so many questions. But do bear in mind, as I'm doing this interview, there will be one that we will do once the inquest is over, because there are things that I have come to find out that I am absolutely not allowed to mention, because I can't say it, and I've had to sign paperwork that says I won't mention anything about certain things until after the inquest. The inquest is a matter for the public to know about. So when it happens, it will all be out there for anybody who wants to know. At this stage, the coroner likes to keep an awful lot under wraps. But I can tell you the head wound is not mentioned anywhere.
Okay. I want to ask a few questions about the some of the things that the police have done in the UK. Do they still have the laptop and the phone at the moment? Do you know any news on that?
I know that they have the laptop and the phone. And I know that there was a great deal of time spent making up their minds as to who was going to actually investigate what was on the laptop, on the phone, and the phone, who was going to download everything that had been wiped, and whether it was going to be somebody from the coroner's office, or whether it was going to be the police, or whether they were going to give them back to me and let me find someone who would do it. At this stage, it looks like it's the police department themselves that are doing it. It's a cost. Apparently, it's a very, very high cost for the police to do this, but it is now being done by the police department.
Okay. Do you have any idea when that will be done?
It's got to be released by September when the inquest happens.
Okay. Okay.
So right now, I don't know what's on it. In fact, Sarah probably got better ideas than I have what was on that phone. I mean, I'm sure there's just personal stuff which is absolutely fine and of no interest. It's just whether there's anything that links to his death. That's all that I care about. If there's anything that's been wiped that is useful information, or all of his work, all of the work that he was prepping ready for the conference with Miles, all gone.
That would be interesting to see his work. I know that none of me and his personal messages will be out there, and I know a lot of people sadly are just disgusting to want to know that, or his personal messages with his family. Those definitely will not be put out there. I don't think that anybody deserves those, first of all, and they don't have a right. You know, the police have went through them. They've seen there's nothing. People don't need to know our personal lives. Kind of want to keep that sacred. That's sort of sacred, you know, and I know if I won't want my personal messages with my family or with my partner, so on, put out there. So I understand this, but I do consider that sacred. But what will be hopefully put out is anything, you know, obviously the computer was wiped because there had to be something on it, possibly, that wouldn't look too good.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some useful information on it. But quite what that is just speculation at the moment. So as I say, there's going to be a lot more to be forthcoming after this inquest has happened. That's when we're really going to know.
Okay. And did the police also come and take away some of his belongings as well, other than the?
They took away everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything that was anything other than clothing, anything, you know, that looked like it might be useful was taken, bagged. You know how they bag it and ziplock it.
Yeah.
And it was all taken. I don't know what they do with it, whether they fingerprint it. I don't know. But they've taken a lot of stuff and labelled it, and it's all gone.
Right. So does that include all the belongings that came back from Poland?
Yes, that's exactly what it was, because he had most of his stuff in that one case. Yes.
And you were sent a book as well. I don't know. Was that sent by Monica?
Yes, that's right. And we talked about that. They've taken that as well.
They've taken that as well. Okay.
Yes.
And they had the SIM card.
Had the SIM card in it. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah. They had the SIM card as well. Yeah.
Yes, they had the SIM card.
If they didn't suspect anything, they wouldn't come and take all of that stuff and be, you know, they wouldn't be doing all of this stuff. Did you say it was a hazmat team? I don't remember what you told me, Vanessa, when that happened. Was it a hazmat team or something? You said it just came.
It was just the police officers came.
Okay.
And took. They went through with the coroner's assistant. They went through his bag from Poland, and took all of that. And of course, I had in a separate box the phone and the computer. And then I had the SIM card separate, because first of all, I received the phone, and I looked and there was no SIM card in it. And I called and said, "Where's the SIM card? The phone's of not much use to me." She didn't know what a SIM card was. She had to ask her daughter, who then luckily found it, or strangely, you might think. And then the SIM card was sent separately in this book about sacrifice. Human sacrifice.
Wow.
Mm.
I didn't remember you telling me that. Now that
Right. Right. Well, there's so much, isn't there? Yes. So that's gone, and the book's gone too. The book has a warning on the outside about not reading it, and it is very gross indeed. I only looked at a couple of passages, and then I put it down in the shed until they took it, because it was a very disturbing book.
Wow, you didn't want to have it in the house.
Nope.
Why would they send you the SIM card back in a book that about human sacrifice? That's very strange.
Very disturbing.
I do know that after Max died, I was severely attacked on a psychic level, really,
Yeah.
really badly. I was so sick. I know that even the people from Vice, they came down and stayed with me a bit, and they were worried about me. They got to look at the papers from the doctor that there was so much going wrong with me, whereas I had been quite healthy. And I know that the coroner say too that Max, his organs and everything were that like a 29-year-old, they were so healthy.
Yes. Nothing wrong with his organs at all.
Yes, so I went from being absolutely healthy to having these weird dreams where I was being attacked by different things, and I would wake up literally in night sweats and everything. Well, I was so sick I couldn't eat. I was spitting up blood. I went and got a lot of tests done when I was in England, and I had everything going wrong, from my liver going wrong to my heart, everything. They didn't know what to do for me. They were really quite shocked. And that's where, one of the Vice people, which is really lovely, said, well, maybe they're attacking you with black magic.
Right.
That they wanted, because it was after he died, there was something really, I felt like evil was almost this evil energy towards me. And I was desperately trying to get away from it.
It was terrible, and all that happened was I'm trying to speak and find out what on earth's happened, and all I hear is crying, which is all very well, but when the mother of this person calls, it's no good to break down and keep crying. I couldn't get any information. It was like as if I was being blanked. I couldn't find out anything. It was terrible night.
Well, I do know, too, is that they were trying to cut Max off from me and from you, Vanessa. They were trying to cut him off and telling him a lot of evil stuff about us. And
well, it is, and the suggestions being put out there that he, that he didn't want to have anything to do with all the people that he knew before.
Okay, we're just going to a commercial break, guys. If you can just mute your microphones, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to Divine Truth on Revolution Radio. Just before we continue with the show, just like to remind you that Revolution Radio is a listener-supported station. We do rely on your donations to keep us on air, so please do go to the website at freedomslips.com to make a donation. I think we may have lost Vanessa during the break. I'm just trying to get her back. Sarah, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Hi, Vanessa, are you there?
I think we have lost Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa, are you there? Hi, Vanessa. I can see she's on the call, but I can't hear her, so... yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Just bear with me a minute.
I guess I'll try to say some things to fill in here while you're trying to put her back on.
Okay, sure.
Oh, yeah, it has been a crazy year. You know that, Taj.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sort of just, I was watching a movie last night. I was watching Ghost in a Shell, how they upgrade, them two with cybernetics, and the one he dies, her partner, he dies. But he dies, it's funny, he dies at the bottom of the tree, which is the tree of life, meaning that he truly didn't die. And he says to her, my ghost will always be with you. So I thought that was quite interesting because the ghost represents the soul,
Yeah.
I watched that last night and I had a nice cry over that.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I saw that film a couple of times now, Ghost in a Shell. It's an interesting movie.
It is really interesting because I think she worked as an activist against the government before they did all that stuff to her.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did you get Vanessa back on? Are you still having time with that?
No, I'm trying to call her, but she's not answering. So
try to send her a message. Sometimes you can't. Like when you call me, sometimes it doesn't show up either. You know that.
I can see it's sort of like trying to connect, but it keeps saying call failed. So I don't know why. That is.
Well, hopefully we can get her back on. But she did get a lot of information out before we lost her, luckily. So that's good.
Just bear with me a second. I'm going to try and call her on the phone.
Okay. I just, and I'll go ahead and continue speaking to try to fill in. I'm really, really happy for all the support of everybody who did stand up for me and who did, go against the people that just said insanity. And they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what happened. And a lot of people, sadly, because there's jealousy or there's certain issues, they'll just jump and say anything. And that's a really, really sad thing. And maybe, for those of you who have done that, before you do something like that, if you can just think about the family or even think about the partners or think about the loved ones of those going through things and try to not, attack them when they've lost somebody that they love, because it's really, really hard to go through. I can tell you from personal experience, I had such hell going through it. And I know that Max's family had such hell going through it. And it was quite hard. And it's just, I think it's better to be supportive to people, specifically when they've lost people they love, than attack them. Max is always quite happy around us. And you can tell that in photos. He was always grinning. He was always very healthy. He was, very expressive, He was, I think it was some of the best times in his life. It's really quite sad how downhill he went in the last videos I saw of him ever alive and how he looked. And hopefully one day, this can all sort of, everybody can understand, what totally happened there, because nobody has the exact answers of what happened to Max. I don't, his mother doesn't, his family doesn't, his close friends don't. And that's quite a sad thing. I still cry over it a lot. I cry over it all the time. And it's really hard still.
Yeah, I know, Sarah.
Because you're always like, are you okay? And calling me up. And by the way, thank you for the flowers from you and Nissa the other day. That was really lovely. Thank you. Because I'm still going through a really hard time healing from all of this stuff. And I just think it'll take years, to get over it and heal from all that went on. And it was really painful because, it was in the public. And that's why now I'm really protective of my private life. I just want to be very, very protective of that, because I don't want my private photos. It's like photos of me and Max were stolen and put up on stupid websites where they were saying stuff. And that was really hard to see. And then my family, I had there was pictures of them stolen. That was hard too. it was quite hard to go through. But I can say it's made me sort of, it definitely has given me some strength and some, it's almost summoned some inner strength. And now I'm like, I will not, to me, I won't back down from defending what's right. I won't do that no matter what. That's an important thing to me. So I'm trying the best that I can. I'm still trying to, bring out things that I know. But there's a lot of stuff I can never. So I was telling my friend that last night. There's a lot of stuff I'm not ever going to be able to truly say that I know. And Max is doing a lot of work. Of course, it was wiped. I was doing a lot of work, and we were going to bring our work together and present it at the BASIS conference. In fact, on my news stream on Facebook, it sort of pulled up. It showed where me and him were going to attend the BASIS conference. It showed that last year, and it showed all the comments, and we were quite happy about going to do that. So we were going to present a whole bunch of work together that we had done. And I'm trying to continue to present some of the work that I'm doing, and hopefully his, I know he's made such great impact, and it's nice to see that a lot of people have really, really looked into his work and have, realized that he was bringing up a lot of vital points about a lot of things in the world that people need to know about. I'm trying to do it, for health. I'm really trying to push that people get healthy, that they start to become aware that there's a lot of terrible things such as pedophilia going on in the world, that there's abused children, that there's government programs that do use people, test on people, harm people. There's a lot of things that, isn't talked about in the conventional media. So that's the work that I'm trying to continue on along with doing healing. Have we got a hold of Vanessa yet?
No, I've tried calling her phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. And every time I try it, she's showing us busy at the moment on Skype. I'm not too sure what happened during the break.
Died.
Sorry?
Her phone may have died.
It usually shows that she's offline if her phone had died.
I know sometimes she has problem with that. when we tried to log on, which she was having a bit. She was having a bit of an issue with it once. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about your work earlier. I sort of think in a way you've sort of like carried on Max's work in a way. It's like sort of like continued from where, from everything that's happened.
Well, I'm trying, but I also realized for me that, with what happened to me and all of the stuff that happened to me last year, I know it was black magic. I got severely attacked. And it's like at the same time I'm walking a fine line because I'm trying to be okay, still present work, still try to encourage people to do healing, to get involved in their communities, to be aware of what their governments are doing to them. And at the same time, I'm worried about people I love. So I don't want to do anything that's going to put them in danger. I've found out that the hard way that sometimes, that can happen. So as much as I'm not worried about myself, because I am very spiritual, and for me, death isn't something that is absolutely terribly drastic, for myself at least, because I have a lot of past life memories where I've died, and I've always come back. So I have, that I've always told you, like, Taj, I'm really ancient. I've had a lot of lifetimes. But the thing is, yes, the thing is, I worry for those around me because they can be accessed, and that's where I walk a fine line in the work that I'm doing. So I try to keep it a bit lighter now, as in, I'm trying to present things here and there, present specific, I'll call them theories. I have all these theories of what's going on in the world. And I think that from now on, I'm just going to present some of these theories. I can't say that they're based on anything that is real. I can only say that they're theories of what possibly, I don't know, just theories of what might be happening. So I'm approaching it in such a way that it's, I think of, if I write a book, I might even write one under fiction.
Yeah.
That would be the best way for me to write a book. I mean, it probably would just be the best route to take when it comes to writing a book. There are so many quote, fictional things going on in the world, things that people would never imagine, things that some of them are really quite sad, and they're going on, and people aren't aware of these things, and they're going on, and they're harming people, and they're harming children, and it's really hard. It is definitely an interesting sort of lifetime, this one, because I feel like I've chosen it, and at the same time, it is a very, very hard one. I think just losing Max, and what I went through as a child, it's been quite a hard one.
Yeah, I think there's if you did write a book, there's a lot of subjects you could really talk about, and I know you post a lot on your Facebook page about a lot of different topics and news stories and stuff that's in the mainstream media and the alternative media. And we talk a lot about a lot of the stuff that's going around at the moment and other times, and I think a lot of people would want to read that book if you wrote it.
I try. If I get some extra time, I definitely will write a book. That's definitely on my list of things to do. I know that you would probably like if I wrote a book too. You could probably do a page in there or a couple of pages, considering like that you were in the middle of everything that happens. You always wind up in the middle of everything that happens.
Well, yeah, I mean we talk pretty much every day, really. So I sort of know probably more about what's going on in your life than anybody else. But I know you've got a lot of plans, for your book, and I know you're going to be doing conferences this year, and you're going to be, you've been approached by people like Netflix to do a documentary, and being approached by other people to do a supplement line, and you got your jewelry business, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
I just I want to do those things, and at the same time sort of make Max proud, because I know he knew I found out that before he died, he wanted to do a supplement line, and that's something we had talked about. So the person did contact me.
Yeah.
And it was something that he had wanted to do, which, he was going to surprise me with that. So I found that out recently. Well, because they contacted you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He was going to surprise me with that. And he knew, because I used to always give him superfoods and stuff, and it'd make him feel so good. And he was happy about that. But,
yeah.
Yes. And he was so funny. He likened us to Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. We were intense like that. I think he even bought me he got me a book on it, and it's quite funny because his grandfather was good friends with Richard Burton, so I thought that was quite interesting. Yes, and he used to he remembered different lives. He would explain to me about his lives. He even remembered lives on Mars. How odd! And I think that he remembered so many different lives and so many different things, and it was really nice because we were very much, we were very much the same on those levels. We remembered each other in different lives. I remember when he first met me, he goes, "Remember when we were on that other planet?" He said to me, he goes, "Remember when we were on that other planet?" And that's the first time I met him. He had the biggest grin ever. And he said, "You can come sit on my lap." And I said, "I've just met you. I'm not going to sit on your lap, Max." And he said to me, he goes, "But you know me already, so it's okay if you sit on my lap. And I know you already because remember on that other planet." He goes, "Remember all that time we spent together on this other planet?" So he had a memory of us on this other planet, how we spent all this time together. So when I walked up to him, he had the biggest grin. And I finally winded up giving him a hug, and he was so happy about that. And it was really, really nice because when I first met him, he just had the most glowing eyes to me. He looked over at me so happy. Yeah. And I made him, I was like, "You're going to be healthy now." So I gave him all this healthy stuff. I was like, "You're going to be healthy, Max." I was like, I can only be with a person who's healthy. So he did attempt his best to be healthy, and he knew he felt better after doing so. But then we would go explore in different places. We would just drive to places and go explore in different places and find out all this stuff. And we got in some very strange situations. Once we were exploring this place where there was this underground base and, or quote, these quote gates. So we were exploring there, and Max wanted to go further, and I didn't want to go further. I told him, no, we should go further. I have this feeling. So
yeah, we talked about this. You said you had a bad feeling. You had a bad feeling about it.
Yes, and he was an explorer. He just ran up there, and yes, and he was, if I'd get upset, he was always trying to charm me back. Be like, I got you chocolate or something. Max, chocolate does not fix if I'm upset at you. He was always such a sweetheart, but he was also very intense. We definitely were very intense together. Mm. And when you saw the last messages right before he died, he didn't plan on dying. He was like, well, we're going to have a child. I'm going to go back. I'm going to see my mom, and we're going to have a child, and you're going to go back to England, and we're all going to be back in England together. And he wanted to move, be near his mother, but at the same time he was like, oh, we'll go back to Glastonbury and all this different stuff. So he was really, really just
when was the last time you spoke to Max? What did you talk about, or can you say what you talked about the last time?
He was having a really bad day, and I told him, I said maybe if there is some place where you can just go and pray or meditate, because I was encouraged him to pray or meditate, and he did tell me, yes, I'm going to go and do that. In fact, I think I could pull up his messages right now and read the last ones. Maybe
was that like days before he passed away? The last time
it was, but it was somebody actually shut down the Max Spiers, Max Spiral's web.
Yeah, that was shut down. Yeah,
that's weird.
Well, yeah, it's weird because it's completely vanished. Sometimes even if someone deactivates their Facebook account, you can still see their messages on Facebook.
Okay, so so wait 1 second. I pulled it up for my phone dies. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. So he would have died today, March 16th. So he was messaging me on March 15th.
July 16th, yeah.
Sorry, what am I talking about? July 16th at 3:55 a.m. He was messaging me in the morning. He was messaging me on July 15th at 10:57. So it was just hours before he died. He said, "You there?" He said, "I'm going to get in the bath and into bed, and we're going to have a new beginning." And he said, "I love you with all my heart. Talk very soon. Okay, gotta go. I'll message you when I'm in bed." He says to me, "Let me do this thing and add salt into the bath." Because I was telling him, you don't feel good. Add salt into the bath. He said, "Talk to you soon, beauty of the planet." I said, "Max, I'm worried for you. Let me start this in the beginning so you can just hear a couple of it." So he messages me, and this is on the 15th, right?
Right. So this is the day before he passed away.
Yes. Okay. And I said, he had posted a picture of a Polish girl. Actually, no, he posted a picture of this actress that's name is Sarah. She's the Sarah Goddard. She's the actress from in Dracula, the new Dracula movie. And I messaged him. I said, "What's this picture?" And he said to me that it was the actress of the movie. So I said, "Oh, okay," because people thought, I guess, he was dating her. So he posted that because me and him had talked about the Dracula movie. In fact, we watched it. Remember, I told you it's one of the last movies we watched. Yeah. And yes, he has his wife in there. The actress that plays her name is Sarah Goddard. So that's the picture of the actress he had posted, and people assumed it was somebody he was dating. But he had posted that because it was that actress, and we had sort of talked about that whole movie. He says to me on July 15th at 7:11 a.m. He said, "I'm very sick." I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You must be okay because I love you, Max." He said, I'm just came out of a bizarre place. I can't tell you because I've never had it done before. I'm on fire." I said, Max, I've been feeling on fire. I was feeling very sick at the same time he was.
Yeah.
He said, my temperature is 104. I said, because the doctor was giving me medication. So I said, Max, I'm getting medication because I have, some issues right now too. He said, I kid you not, I was laying down and and he was like, he couldn't even explain himself. He said, I kid you not, I was laying down under unstuck ions and I could not move. I don't know what that means. He said, I need IBU. I don't understand what that means. So I said to him, I said, you need me? Listen, I said, you must get in cold water. You need to get this down. He goes, yes, I need you very, very much. He says, I can feel the heat. I said, okay, you need to get in water. He goes, I feel like lava. I said, I'm taking a whole bunch of different supplements and I'm feeling better. So I told him I was feeling better. I said, who's the picture that they're telling me about, online? He said, oh, it's a silly picture for no reason whatsoever. I just posted it because they were talking crap or something like that.
Yeah.
I said, well, don't make me cry ever. And he says to me, 1 second, sorry about that. I'm still pulling it up. He says, oh, it was meant to make you send me a silly picture back. And I'm totally sorry if it upset you. I love you, baby, but your man is on fire right now. I said, this might be a demonic attack. I said, you need to get to water and get in water. I said, you need to do some ceremony to basically, try to protect yourself. I said, everything you do affects me. It's always causing me different effects, so I feel you. So I knew he wasn't well. I said, I'm going to go to a shaman. If you can find a shaman, you need to get to a shaman, because I knew there was something really wrong. He said, the only thing I can do now, I said, I don't like you hurting, Max. He said, me neither. He said, I feel not in this world. It's a total trip. I said, Max, I want you okay. He couldn't even say things right. He said, I'm young Ton. He says he's not even, he's like scrambling. He wrote ELRIGJT, Sarah, and then he wrote over and over again, really weird. I said, Max, please say you'll be okay. And he wrote, Maxwell the Archer will be okay. Maxwell the Archer will be okay 3 times to me. I said, he must, because I love him. And
Right.
And then I said, Max, did you call? Come here. I traced it. And I said, I traced this thing that was attacking him, because I was trying to trace it, because I'm very psychic. I said, Max, you need to get to water again. He said, I'm going to go ahead and go to the church. He was freaking out. He was literally saying he was going to go to the church down the road. He said, he was going to go to the church down the road. I said, are you in that much pain? He said, I'll run a bath and take all my clothes off and get in the bath. He said, yes, my limbs are hurting. They're hurting quite a lot. I said, I'm so worried for you. Put salt and vinegar in the bath, but get in a cold bath. So he said, let me do my thing and add salts into it and message you when I'm in. Talk to you, beauty of the planet. Love you with all my heart. Talk to you soon. Okay, gotta go. I'll message you when I'm in the bath. Talk to you soon. Then in the middle of the night, he had messaged me, but I didn't wake up. I guess that's when he died. He messaged me at 10:57 at night. So he messaged me, you there? I need to get out of the bath and bed. It's beginning. That's what he said now. And I don't know what he meant by that. Then I said, woke up in the morning, I messaged him. I said, Boo, are you better? I said, where are you, love? I miss you. I kept messaging him. I said, are you okay? Then I said, Max, are you ignoring me? You never ignored me. Never ignore me. What are you doing? I said, where are you at? And I kept messaging him, like, where are you at? What happened? And then that's when I got the call that he was dead. These were barely hours before he died. Those were the calls. That was what he was telling me. Yeah. And he was really, really worried. Something was really bad was happening to him.
So did he... I know, like, he messaged you a few times that he was a bit paranoid, and he was worried that people, certain people were spying on him, listening to his conversations with
hiding.
you.
Like he was hiding. Well, he was hiding when he was talking to me with I. He would hide, and then he was like hiding, and then he was saying that they were saying stuff about me to try to drive him away from me, but he loved me so much that in the end he wouldn't be able to be driven away from me. So he was also like saying that they were saying stuff about his mom and everything, so they were trying to drive him away from his family and from me. But he was in that conversation there, you could tell there's something wrong. I should probably just take screenshots of that conversation and post it, because I think people need to see that there was something really wrong. And you could tell it's just hours before he died. But I know that those are the same messages that I did show the authorities. And, you could tell that we were very much, I was trying to make sure he was okay. And you could tell, I knew something was wrong. At the same time, I was not feeling well myself. So I felt like something was going on. And that's when I encouraged him. He kept telling me, he had a temperature that was an insane temperature, so something was going on. And he was, I don't know, but he was just like babbling, like in some of the messages, which I will post these online if anybody wants to go see them. They'll be on my Facebook. And these are just hours, if you reference it up, these are hours before he died. And he was just, Max, usually he's eloquent. He writes very eloquently. And he was just literally just doing random numbers and random letters together. He wasn't able to talk normally.
Right.
But go ahead.
I was just looking through my last messages to Max today, just to see if I'd missed anything, or just sort of because the last two messages I sent to Max, he never read. In fact, do you remember the first time I came to see you in Canterbury?
Mm-hmm.
And I showed you that I was taking my phone out. I was about to show you that last two messages had never been read, and then I saw on my phone that they had been read. Do you remember that? I showed the phone to you. I said, "Look."
He died. Yes, I remember, because you said they were read after he died.
After he died, yeah. And then a few days later, they were unread again. So somebody had accessed his Facebook, read all his messages, and then in Facebook you can mark a message as unread, can't you? So somebody had read the messages on his phone or his computer, and had basically unread them. And it's still showing as unread now. Whereas that day I came to see you, it showed as read. So there's something very weird, with his Facebook as well. You mentioned that his other account has been completely deleted from Facebook.
You think that they wanted to say that we fought stuff? Yeah, we did at times, but we were deeply in love. You could kind of tell that. And it's like they wanted to set up that it was my fault. It was specifically set up that it was my fault or somebody else's fault, rather than anything that could be pointed towards him. But you have to realize now that it's now came out that all this stuff, the body wasn't turned over. He had marks on him. They took his clothes off and put some ridiculous suit on him. There's a lot of stuff now that's came out to prove otherwise, that there were a lot of issues or weird things going on with him over there. I was in the United States. I think we had talked around that time. I was going to go to the conference. We were happy. We were going to go to the conference. Me and him, he had wanted me to go back to England, and I accepted it. And he wanted, me back there. And I told him, I was like, yes, I love you. I'll be back there with you. So he was really happy.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, we can have a new beginning and have a home over there again. And he was really quite happy about that. But the way he was acting, why would he have a temperature like that? He said he felt like he was, here, let me pull back that message up. And he said literally that he felt like he was.
There was a lot of stuff going on in the weeks before he passed away to do with the conference. And I know that, you were going to speak at the conference and he was going to speak at the conference. And I was basically passing messages from Miles to you and to Max, because you wasn't talking you wasn't talking to Miles, and at times Max wasn't talking to Miles. So I was like stuck in the middle, trying
That's what
to
you
like
get for being an
pass.
assistant, Taj.
Yeah, I was basically stuck in the middle, and Max would say, you know, what does Miles want from me? And I would say, Max, can you get like a bio for the website? Can you do this? Miles wants you to do this. Miles wants you to do that, and and I would be passing messages back and forth. Same with you. I'll be passing messages to you
Well, yeah,
saying Miles
and,
needs this from you, and
I,
several times you were off the schedule, you were on the schedule, you were off the schedule, you were on the schedule, and I think the joke at the time was I had changed that poster so many times for the conference. I was still changing it the week of the conference.
I remember you told me that. You're like,
I know. I think I changed that poster about 20 times in the months, before the conference.
well, and he was actually booking for us to have a room together, a hotel together. So that's what he wanted.
Right.
And you remember that he wanted us to have a suite together meeting. He was quite happy about that. I won't read those messages. He's quite happy about having the hotel. He was like, I'm going to see you. I think Vanessa told me that he had told the girl that, or Sandra or something like that, he told her that he was going to go get me from the airport and see me. And, so he was telling people about it. He was quite happy about it. And I was looking forward to seeing him. I was really, really quite looking forward to seeing him. And even today, I still can't cope that he's dead. You know that. I can't cope with it still. It's really hard. And a lot of people are like, well, you have to heal. You have to. And I'm doing the best that I can. But
did Max ever tell you what he was going to talk about at the conference? Did he go into like any specifics, or did he not tell you?
We were going to talk a lot about different stuff. He was working on some sort of information that he had gotten, and I was working on some information which I've never put out there to this day, by the way, and I won't do it.
Yeah, I know what you were going to talk about, because you set up a group, like a Facebook group, to talk about what you were going to actually discuss at the conference.
Well, there was the other part that I was going to talk about, how there was a lot of things connected with government, with celebrities, with pedophilia and stuff like that. I had discovered a whole sort of a lot of information on that, and I was going to talk about that too. And even after, I decided not to talk about that, and I have really chilled out on talking about those things, not because just for the fact that, like I said, I'm trying to make sure that people around me are safe.
Right. Did you know about anything that he had been saying prior to him passing away, about naming certain people, celebrities?
He was going to name certain people, definitely.
Did he talk to you about that?
Well, yes, he did.
He did talk to you about that.
He did. I'd say he did, but I'd say he mostly we talked about a lot of personal stuff. We were very close. So, I mean, as much as we would talk about our work, we'd spend probably more a great deal of time talking about personal stuff, and Max is quite funny. He would always make jokes. I make jokes back to him, and we'd have quite nice time a lot of times. But that's what mainly I think our conversations were about. Were we going to put a lot of stuff together at the conference? Yes, we were going to, and we were going to link everything together, the work that he was doing and the work that I was doing.
Right. So you were going to do basically like a joint talk at the conference, sort of like one after the other.
If you scroll back, if you go to my news feed and look, even it showed it today. I was looking today at my memories on my news feed. It shows that. And it literally shows the comments below where he's all happy about it. So, and that's today. That's the day he died. There's my news feed that literally shows that. That was the last post before he died, was I posted how we were going to go to the conference and speak together. And I know there was a lot of people who didn't want that, because I know there was a lot of jealous girls who didn't want me back with Max. They didn't want me with Max in the first place. They didn't want him to love me, and they didn't want us to have the connection we did. And regardless of whatever they say, we did have that connection, and he would run to me and I would run to him. It always was like that. And we were very magnetically drawn to each other. And no matter what, even if he was upset, he sent me that letter. Do you remember that letter I sent you, the screenshot of it, where he says, I'll always love you. Even if you don't want me to love you, I'm always going to love you. I will eternally love you.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that was one of the emails I got from him.
Yeah, a lot of stuff came out, like just after he passed away, that you guys weren't together and that you weren't getting back together, and Max had finished with you and all this kind of stuff. And, obviously I was in communication with you and Max, that for a long time before he passed away. So I knew that was not true. But, when that stuff comes out in the media and online and YouTube videos, people who didn't even know you, didn't even know Max, are talking about this stuff. It can be very, I don't know, very hard to listen to when it's a complete lie.
Well, and you knew that because you knew we're going back between both of us. So did even, his mother know that. So did close people around him. And I know this. My aunt knows this. A lot of close friends knew this. The thing is I think there was a lot of jealousy out there, which is really quite sad. That's another issue of why this happened. In the end, even all the journalists, most of the news stories are saying how, I was close with him. They read my messages. They didn't give a crap about anybody else. Most all of it, they knew, when they investigated it, they did find out that me and him were close. They looked through our messages. They saw my messages to him hours before he died. And we weren't arguing or anything. I was trying to help him. Those are those messages that, I just read to you. But the thing is that, Max may get upset and I would get upset at him, indefinitely, but we would always come back together. We would come back together no matter what. And in the end, we didn't give a crap about any other person. When it came to guys or girls, we would go running back together. And we were used to that. We were very much used to that. And he would always put me first, and I would always put him first. And it was always like that. I just think that I think there was a lot of jealousy, and I still think there is a lot of jealousy today, and that's really quite sad that that people are like that. But it's just Vanessa, that's some of the last messages she said to me. It's these women, all these girls and their jealousy. That's why they attack you the way they do online, and that's it. I don't know. If you look at the pictures of me and Max, you can tell that we were really, really close. You could tell how he stares at me. And in his last interviews, he was calling me his girlfriend anyhow. And he would call me his wife, remember?
I know. I even told you, do you remember Max blocked me back in January, and then he unblocked me. He unblocked me like a couple of months before he passed away. And I sort of asked him, what happened? And he said, "Oh no, it wasn't me. My girlfriend blocked you." And I don't think he knew that you and I were close. And so I sort of asked you, and I said, "Sarah, Max is saying that you blocked me on Facebook. What's all this about?" And of course, I don't know what really happened, but I know you didn't block me, and I think it was just an excuse. I mean, I know in January, a lot of people came to me and said that they were worried about Max because he had just broken up with you, and he wasn't in a good place. And I was like trying to give him some good advice. I was like trying to talk to him like as a friend.
You probably thought you were trying to be the middleman, because I remember he unblocked you and added you because of the fact I told him. I had to literally call him and explain to him that there were girls online that were just always trying to create insanity between me and him. But I'm the one who left. I said, "Max, I'm going to go and, spend some time over here with my aunt." And, he knew that. I think whenever that happened, a lot of girls posted on my thing and said, "Oh yeah, that's good, he broke up with you." And he literally went on there and told them, "No, I didn't break up with her like that. She's just taken some time with her family." So he even defended that.
We spoke. I mean, we spoke like a few months before he passed away, and you told me in confidence, we haven't actually broke up. We're just spending some time apart because Max needs to sort himself out because he has a lot of issues to deal with. And you couldn't be around that while he was, dealing with those issues. And so you needed, you guys needed space, and he needed the space to basically sort a lot of stuff out in his life that, he was dealing with.
Yeah, and I think Karen told me too. Karen said that he was, told him.
I can't hear you, Sarah. Can you come closer to the
Sorry.
microphone?
Yes, I think Karen told him that, he was really doing some healing so that he could, because he wanted to see me again, and he was really trying to work on healing so that he would be okay, when he saw me again. And he told Karen he was literally, happy he was going to see me. So
Yeah, we're talking about Kieran here. Yeah, Kieran Lee Perrin.
yes,
Kieran actually went to the Polish conference with Max, and I've spoken to Kieran a lot. I've interviewed Kieran, and I'm helping Kieran, with a documentary as well at the moment. And Kieran told me, exactly what happened in Poland. I don't want to get into it on this show because we don't really have too much time to talk about it. But Kieran did speak a lot with Max while he was in Poland, and the one thing that Kieran did say that Max did want to get back with you. He was planning a future with you, and he did want to get back with you, and that was going to happen. As far as he was concerned, that was going to happen. There was no doubt in his mind whatsoever that was going to happen. And that's what Kieran said.
No, he was really happy about that, and I was too. And he had called me that day before and talked to me. And of course, I don't know how the Max Spirals website, because that was his other Facebook, and that just completely disappeared. And I don't know who took that down, but that's what he was communicating to me on a lot too. I have some messages on there. The thing is I'm pretty sure that I took screenshots, so I might have screenshots, hopefully.
Yeah, I sort of found that. I found that account when he unblocked me, and I sort of messaged the account to find out who it was because I wasn't sure if it was Max or someone pretending to be Max. And he messaged me back saying, "Yeah, this is my other account," and he sort of added me on that account as well. But that
was his
that
account. So, but it's just been deleted recently.
Yeah,
which is crazy. Exactly, like who deleted that account?
Well, only Facebook could have deleted it, really. The way it's been deleted.
They haven't deleted his other account. He's got two other accounts. No.
Yeah, I mean his main account is still up, and I think nobody can actually take that down until Vanessa. Obviously, Vanessa still doesn't have a death certificate or anything like that. So
screenshots from the other one, that his last messages that I have too from that one. So he was messaging me on both, and I'll try to look up. And like I said, I don't want any of our personal messages out there, so we're going to make sure that stays confidential because nobody needs to know our private lives. They know enough. With all of this, they know enough anyhow. But I will post. Definitely, I'm okay with posting the last where he says he has a temperature, those last messages where he says something's wrong. Because those might just be helpful to somebody. I'm hoping that somebody from around there that knew him in Poland or somebody was around him is just going to come out and say, well, this was happening or this was happening, so we can have some sort of closure. And
yeah, I mean, well, it's been a year now, and I mean, the last interview I did with Vanessa, I did say on there that if anyone had any information, that they could contact either myself or Vanessa anonymously. And we didn't really get much of a response. And I think a lot of people who may know something are quite scared.
Did you know that there is a person, and I am one person possibly, and I'm definitely doing some work on that right now. I can't talk about that again. I know that
there is one person in Poland who I was talking to, who I talked to you about, who said that her life was threatened if she ever spoke about Max.
Yes, she did, and she said the person that he was with was obsessed with him and paranoid, and that she was trying to do anything to get with him. And that's what Max had told me too. He said that this woman, he said, I'm not attracted to this woman, but she keeps trying to get with me over and over again. So he had told me that also.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, it's been a year now, and if anyone was going to come forward with information, you would think that they would have come forward by now. And
well, maybe when the Inquisition finishes, somebody might come forward. There might be something with that. But
well, I mean, really,
one lady did have a lot of information because she was personal friends with the person he was staying with, which I won't say names here. And she knows that whole group, and she had a lot of information, but she never wanted us to say anything too much about it because she was scared to death. And she did say that her life had been, she did death threats for it? Why would she get death threats from, for that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange that, all she wants to do is tell the truth. So why would you get death threats for just speaking out the truth about what actually happened? Unless you don't want the truth to come out, obviously. That's the only reason I can think of.
I honestly feel like Max was exploited and used in the end, and they tried to pin stuff on me, on his family, and they can say whatever that they want. I definitely am not. I will get legal aid no matter. I have the means to use legal aid against them. But the thing is that I feel like he was exploited. He wasn't cared about. He was used on some level. They didn't care about him. You can tell in the way he looks. He looks absolutely desperate in those last videos.
Yeah. I know you haven't listened to his very last interview, but I've basically told you what's in that interview anyway. I've sort of described what happened in that interview, and I still can't get over, why that interview was even posted, and it's very strange. I don't know what to make of it all, really. I mean, a year later, we're not really any closer to knowing what happened, and that's the frustrating thing, I think, for you and for Vanessa, and for everyone, really. There has to be some closure to this. And personally, Sarah, I don't think the inquest is going to give any closure. And I don't know what you feel about that, but that's my sort of, take on it anyway.
Considering all the things that he was, and the work he was doing, all the things he was involved in, I think there's a lot that is, hopefully in the future, there will be closure. I'm definitely praying for that. I can't say that will happen. What I can say is that something terrible, really bad happened to Max. Really, really, really bad. And hopefully it does come to the light. But, and something really bad happened to me after Max died. I was so sick and ill. And it has to do a lot, I think, with black magic. Like, his mom got a book about sacrifice. That this all doesn't add up. But you can't tell a normal police station, oh, somebody's been sacrificed. You can't tell the police station, say, oh, there's a lot of things police don't know when it comes to using black magic and stuff like that. So it's really hard. Whereas his mom knows, whereas I know that black magic can kill a person or harm a person. You can sacrifice a person like that. We know this. Yeah. You can't tell a police officer, oh, hey, he might have been sacrificed or something like that. It's really quite hard. Like she said about the poisons, you have to have a list. All of this it's very, very hard to go through because it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and it's extensive. And it's a lot of stuff that conventional police are not used to dealing with.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that Max didn't even know. Max thought that he was surrounded by people who actually cared about him. And,
I don't think so. Within the last, he was, like Vanessa said, he was very, very, I think he was in a state of utter desperation. You saw those messages that I just read. He sounded utterly desperate when he was hiding, trying to speak to me. And I was like, why are you hiding? And I could hear yelling in the background like they didn't want him speaking to me. So he was definitely being monitored, and he did feel was definitely I had to feel from him that he was in utter desperation. Did he, when he got there, I think he did feel that maybe those people or people he were around were his friends. And yes, I don't think that, I think eventually it dawned on him that they weren't, or something was happening on another level. Because he was very, very perceptive and very psychic too. So he was messaging me too about things that he was picking up and that were sort of, really worrying to him.
Yeah. I spoke to Vanessa a while ago about this as well, that she's actually being monitored as well. And she knows she's being monitored because she has vehicles, parked up outside her house for a while and with blacked out windows and, the same sort of thing, like strange phone calls and things like that.
Well, it's before he died, and they left somebody, and I went to my mailbox, and there was a skull in it, and with
Yeah.
a crossbow, it's sort of a pendant. And I don't like skulls, first of all, so I hadn't ordered that. We don't even know how it arrived in the mailbox because I keep my place very private. And well, you remember that I took a picture of it. There was a skull and
Yeah.
crossbones.
Yeah, you posted it. Yeah, I saw the picture of that. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought, this is very, very strange. Why did I get this in the mail? And it had a red on the top, which means blood, and it was very, very symbolic. Now, oddly enough, too, I don't think Vanessa stated. She did state in her other interview about Opus Dei. She
Yeah.
did say that it was the Opus Dei, something about Opus Dei. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Basically, Max's body was sent to a funeral home that was called Opus in Poland. That was the name of the funeral home that his body went to, which we found a little strange. But we're going to end the show any minute now. So I don't know if there's anything last you want to say, Sarah, before,
I just want to thank everybody for the support, and again, I in any way that Max's mother can be helped, whether it's any way, I hope that she writes a book or something, or they do a movie out of this. I think it'd be really, really nice, and I want his family to have peace and be okay, just like I want my family to have peace. And all of this has stirred up everything, and I'm just trying to take a lot of time to relax and be okay. But in the end, I want to thank everybody for their support, and especially those who stood up for me, and those who stood up for Max, and those who sort of said, no, this is lies, and those, who stood by our side, because it really did help in the end.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for that. And thank you, Taj, because you're an amazing friend. You're an amazing person.
Thanks, Sarah.
Everybody's amazing person. Everybody are amazing people in our group.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's the end of the show. I'm sorry Vanessa couldn't make it onto the second half of the show. But thank you, Sarah, for continuing with me on the second half of the show. And have a lovely evening, and good night, everyone.
Bye, Taj.